I had very difficult time talking about Bob.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I'm saying I'm finding kind of overly grateful for all these times that I've spent with
Yeah.
these people, and we had a lot of good times.
Yeah.
Bob, Bob and I working side by side for years.
When you were just a kid.
Yeah, when I my hair was dark,
Really? You had dark hair?
I did. Yeah, you never know it by now, but yeah. No, just recently, I mean, a couple of days back, some of the kids and the people that are on the tween Sahavas that we just saw, they were at the center. So I got
Wow.
together with them, and one of the boys, uh, Ian, who doesn't know. I mean, I don't know if his parents are devoted to Baba, but anyway, he had a ball. He loved it, you
Nice.
How,
know.
how does he know about Baba if the parents don't know?
Well, I mean, meaning that I think that I could be wrong, but I think they're related,
Right.
uh, but I don't, to the big, you
To the
know,
clan.
Murali and Manjup
Right.
and that whole clan. Yeah.
Actually, Aaron's mom is a Baba lover. Aaron,
Oh, okay.
hmm,
Oh, okay.
like
Oh,
Jayshree's
yeah. You
daughter.
mean, uh-huh.
Jayshree's daughter, she's like Aaron's mom.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she knows. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he had a ball, and I tied him to a tree without using a rope, and he
Oh,
couldn't get out.
How'd you do that?
awesome.
There's a way to do it. I mean, I've even tied Brian West, who's very athletic, to a
Yeah.
tree without using a rope,
How do you do
and
that?
he couldn't get out. Huh?
How do you do that?
Well, you get their legs around a tree, and then you drop them down on their legs, but their one of their shoes is like caught by their leg,
Oh, I see.
and their very weight keeps them from
Keeps.
getting out. I mean, unless you can really pull yourself up a tree, and if it's too wide, you can't really get enough of a grip, so you are stuck.
Wow.
Of course, they can't walk again.
Huh?
Of course, they can no longer walk.
Yeah. Well, that's
Well, that solves a
that-
lot of problems
that's
right there.
that's the future, Hugh. I mean, we're in the present. No, one time at the portico of the tomb, there were these two posts, metal posts, and I tied a couple of kids to those posts without a rope, just their own, and I just walked down the hill. Back
Oh
to,
my goodness.
yeah. Let them deal with that.
Get yourself out of trouble.
Someone freed them up eventually.
Oh, dear.
People don't think it's possible,
And then you go and prove it. No,
And-
that's okay. I believe you.
Yeah, yeah. We're believers.
You don't have to prove it.
Yeah, there's no way, Wendy, you would be able to get out.
No,
Um,
nope. Not at this age. Nope.
yeah, we remembered Bob Brown. What a larger, I mean, it's funny. Some of these people like Bob Brown, and I bet you have never met anybody like Bob Brown. He was like so original. You know what I mean? When you kind of get out of fitting into these social norms and roles and everything, you and you discover your own uniqueness, you look like Bob Brown and you act like Bob Brown. you know,
Uh,
I remember one time there was one person who was very, this came up, Bob worked in the Philadelphia Zoo, and he was very knowledgeable about anything in the natural world. And he was, but this one person, and he had a great love. I mean, such a love for animals. But anyway, there was one person who was terrified of bees. And Bob Brown we have these big carpenter bees on the center, and I think some of you who have been to the center have seen them. They're real big, and they kind of hover like a helicopter.
Oh.
So, but they don't sting. So Bob Brown put a couple of them in his mouth and went in where this person was sitting in the original kitchen at the table there. And he opened his mouth, and these two bees shoot out. Freaked the heck out of the person. That's the kind of stuff that Bob Brown would do.
Well, a couple people today called him a lunatic. They used that word.
Uh-huh. Well, he was a little too smart and very one-pointed. I mean, like if he wanted to learn something, God, he would go to the bottom of it. I don't know. There must be some zodiacal sign like Virgo or something. It goes all the way to the bottom. And he was that type. And fearlessly and feverishly. You know, one time I was on my way to India, and I got to the airport and I discovered I didn't have my passport. I had no idea what happened to my passport. Finally, I decided that I felt that I may have left it at this copy machine place where I Xeroxed my passport. And I called in desperation to Bob and Jane. And they went to, and they found the owner, the address, but it would have been the wrong address. So they went to a different address. It said south and it should have been north. Well, they decided they're going to go to north, and they actually got the guy to come in his pajamas because it was early in the morning, and he came and opened the shop. They found my passport, and I was on the plane by this time. I mean, get on the plane. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get to New York, and I have to go through, the Indian consulate, and oh my God, it was a nightmare. And Bob and Jane, unbeknownst to me, found this passport and drove down to the airport, driving 90 miles an hour. 90 miles an hour.
What?
And the door is just about to close in the airplane, and a stewardess comes with my passport and some chocolates on top. And I look over at Bob and Jane, and they're on the balcony waving. Unbelievable. And when they went back, there were so many cop cars along the way because someone had picked up that someone was going, outrageously fast. But otherwise, it would have been a headache to go to, to have to cancel my reservations and everything. That's the kind of crazy character he was. He'd move heaven and earth for you.
That was a really nice picture that was painted this morning, though, about how the camaraderie at the center, around the music and hanging out.
Oh, God, yeah. In the early 70s, after the program, we'd go down to the original kitchen and play music up until 11 o'clock. So from 9:30 to 11, Friday and Saturday night, then there'd be music. I mean, there were all these great musicians. It was a real creative spark that happened, and we knew all the words to the songs, and they had all. Well, it was just quite unusual. Yeah. Robin, you probably remember those days. Yeah.
I remember even more in the meeting place.
Yeah, in the meeting
programs, and you just get going and going. It was great. It was so much fun.
Yeah, about like 10 musicians would line up, and it would just be around Robin.
When my mother came down, we would often, if you had the time, we'd go out to dinner with you, and after a while with
Ella,
No.
Darwin, and Jean.
No, well, a little bit. I didn't get, I'm sort of a little late in the game and only came for a week each year at that time, or sometimes 2 weeks out of the year. But, and Jane and Bob, we would take them out to dinner. And all I can say about Bob, along with everything that has been said about him, I mean, he's just so amazing, was that I felt Bob was coming through him probably more than anyone else that I've ever met.
Yeah.
Even Mandali. I mean, I just felt that so strongly coming through him.
Yeah.
Great.
What a guy. What a.
And the songs and the melodies, and I mean, they're just so amazing.
Yeah.
It's just so nice to hear them again today.
Yeah, and some of those he wrote very quickly with melody and words coming simultaneously, which is very rare. No, it's very, very rare that melodies and words come together. Okay, Ray, go for it.
All right, this is called Underneath It All. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good.
Have you heard the word? Have you felt it shine? Somewhere there beyond the mind. A fleeting whisper speaks, a presence soft and kind. Somewhere there beyond the mind. Underneath it all, somewhere there behind our walls, somewhere behind waits the divine, the simple heart of love. Are we waiting for a myth, a mantra to repeat as we grow creation's ways? By holding on to life, we cannot reach your feet. Once more we fail to see his ways. Underneath it all, somewhere there behind our walls, somewhere behind waits the divine, the simple heart of love. Underneath it all, somewhere there behind our walls, somewhere behind waits the divine, the simple heart of love.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. Thanks for
Got it.
asking.
Got us revved up a little bit. You know, Patty was just waking up from her nap, and now She's doing push-ups.
I wrote that after I went to Baba's accident site in Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's a story about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I know it's
Wow.
almost time. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. Yeah. We're coming up to Darwin talking about the good-bad scale and love, which is beyond the good-bad scale. But, you know, I mean, I'll say a few words before we begin. But being able to distinguish between good and love, you almost have to be a jeweler if you're going to distinguish between crystal and diamond, between good and love. But that's one of the things that Darwin was, when I was young, trying to point me toward, or trying to open my eyes to that difference. Okay, let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba. Jai Baba. So I guess we'll begin. And in the next sections, Darwin, as I mentioned before, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Darwin encourages us to make a very profound and subtle distinction, as I mentioned there, between good and love. Baba himself says that the trajectory in our spiritual life is we go from bad to good to God or to love. And Baba's clear that goodness is not the goal. Early on, when I lived up there in, near Darwin and Gene Shaw in Schenectady, I had a very difficult time, not only just intuiting or sensing the difference between good and love, but actually experiencing it, because they were just, for me, indistinguishable. But Darwin was holding it out, a distinction. And, most people don't even give it a thought. They kind of conflate good and love. And yet, as Darwin says, good and love are worlds apart. Good springs from our sanskaras, and whereas love comes from beyond our sanskaras. So they have a different vibration. And I don't even know if love has quite a vibration. It has a flow. But anyway, good is good at the highest level is a reflection of love. Just like the moon reflects the sun. But if you try to find the source of light in the moon, you won't find it. You have to look toward the sun. In the same way, the source of love is not in good. It's beyond it. So, I mean, that's a challenge before our consciousness. And there's a quote from the French novelist Victor Hugo, where he says, virtue, as also in the case of vice, is a calculated action. But love is not calculated. It wells up in the heart and expresses it spontaneously. And Baba himself, in other words, there's a little bit of deliberateness and effort in good, whereas in love, Baba says, Baba's words are that springs from the spontaneity of freedom. So what Darwin does in these next sections, he brings in what he calls the good-bad scale. And we are kind of on the pendulum swinging back between good and bad, an ever narrowing swing between good and bad. But Darwin encourages us to not put too much stock or give too much emphasis to our bad and not too much emphasis to our good, but to be looking beyond that toward Baba and love. So so this is a very tricky thing, and in the next sections, he kind of gives. We may have to discuss this a bit, but he shows different ways of extracting ourselves from the good bad scale. So anyway, that's what we are coming up to.
Page 73. I had it here in chat. That's page 43 of the PDF. The section called Annihilated Yet Supported. So, as usual, I call on someone randomly, and you can always pass. And let's see, Sailaja, you care to read?
It is the ego that Meher Baba wants us to minimize. When Baba speaks of the gradual annihilation of the ego, many people react negatively. One tends to become negative when feeling one's ego being diminished. However, curiously enough, during the ego annihilating process, one can still have supreme self confidence. Our self confidence comes from knowing that we are approved of by Baba, strengthened by Baba, and loved by Baba. Baba is not judgmental in any way, nor does he hold our weaknesses against us. Instead, he urges us to love him, love God, love the truth, and work toward the truth. As we mature, we develop insight, and we will be able to see when sanskaras are surreptitiously sapping our spiritual energies. Then we will have something tangible to work on. We can process the past negative programming that he has created low self esteem, lack of self confidence, and other sanskaric complexes. We will be able to see that they are illusory and need no longer affect us. The degree and type of sanskaric activity varies with each individual. Some things are minor, some things are major, some things take years to work out and get free of. And as we work along these lines, our weaknesses will fall away. We are not adept from the beginning. We are learning as we go along, like learning to play tennis. Like learning to play tennis, we do not stop when we fail the first time. We keep trying. Of course, all this is part of individual mysticism, not based on a doctrine or dogma. We are combining deep spiritual mysticism with practical psychology to create versatile methods we can use for our inner efforts. Our efforts are based on our wanting to take our stand on the truth within and on loving and trusting God more and more. Our efforts also include self forgetfulness, and loving the Master is the best way to forget the self. When the ego is diminished, we experience more inner freedom and poise, and we can become somewhat conscious of merging with reality, merging with God. By merging with the divine beloved, we begin to experience ourselves as nothing, and we also become aware to some degree of the everything because we experience glimpses of unlimitedness and timelessness. Around Baba, this would happen to a certain extent as he would draw us into his own being. And even now, although Baba is not in his physical body, it can and should happen that we merge in God, merge in the Master. He allows us to share some of his own consciousness so that we will come to identify ourselves, however humbly, with that consciousness and disentangle from the limited I and all other limitations. Self effacement equates with the self surrender to the highest degree, and it allows us through grace, finally to merge with the beloved. Merging with him is not something one adds to oneself. It becomes possible only when one is completely effaced.
Beautiful. So, anyone feel free to chime in or ask a question or bring it to your own experience. Examples are always good. I noticed that Darwin uses the word mysticism, and and one of the definitions of mysticism is as being different from religion in that mysticism, there's no intermediary between you and God, between you and Baba. That's one of the terms, one of the definitions of mysticism.
And Ray?
Yeah, lately I've been able to apologize when maybe it's not my fault. Do all of those things which are so hard to do. You know you're right, and someone just doesn't understand. But I found that by thinking that, well, the most important thing is to create harmony between you and that person. And there's some way that I can say, I'm sorry that I said what I said. And I never been able to do this before. It used to be very, very frustrating, very frustrating. And this has only been, I think, since the pandemic that we've been in this group and we've been, suffering a little bit. And I've been able to, finally for the first time, see, wait a minute, and that's also based for me. I'm thinking that I'm not so invested in this illusion anymore, that I had to be right because this mattered, so now I don't have to be right because this doesn't matter. And the person is probably right in like a certain way. They're like, there's probably 20%. Maybe I spoke a little harshly. Maybe I could have said it differently, which is true. So this is how I'm able to start doing that. It's really based on realizing that, the illusion, starting to accept, I guess, for real, that this illusion doesn't matter and that Baba is the only thing that matters. And if Baba says, this is what Meher Prasad said, the effacement, the way to me is through effacement. Actually, Meher Prasad, I copied that quote down and I have it on my mirror now. Every morning when I get up, I say it. That was a good hint. But anyway, that's my comment for what it's worth. Thank you.
That's fantastic. You got an invaluable tool in your toolbox, Ray. The victory is his, really. Because, harmony is more important than setting the record straight, so to speak. Really, that's heartwarming to hear.
Yeah, well, I kind of have the opposite situation. I think everything's my fault. And I if someone accuses me of something, I'll just apologize profusely. And so I think maybe it's like a male-female thing. I don't know. But I know Eric had said that when someone accused him of something, he would just immediately say, brother, the fault is mine, or sister, the fault is mine. And he would agree with them. So maybe I'm on the path there with the fault is mine.
It just reminds me, during the New Life, Erich kept saying, if Baba kind of took him to task on something, Erich would say, the fault is mine, Baba. The fault is mine. And then at one point, Baba said, if you say the fault is yours one more time, I'm going to send you out of here. But it was just kind of funny.
Like
What's that?
I said, I'm kind of like that.
But somehow, anyway, it was funny. It happened.
I guess it has to do with what your sanskaras are, whether or not you're an apologizer or you'd like to be.
Yeah. And it depends on the after effect. If you still feel resentment afterwards, then you haven't really apologized. You know, I mean, if it bothers you still, then. But anyway, there are a lineup of hands here.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to comment on this line here in the second paragraph where it says, Baba is not judgmental in any way, nor does he hold our weaknesses against us. Instead, he urges us to love him, love God, love the truth. It is very hard to, you know, face these situations where you know when it comes to your ego, and like it says, we do become very negative. It happens in the family setting and at work all the time. So but of late, I'm trying to lay low and accept it and say, yes, it is my fault, like he said, same things, and that's really helping me a lot. I feel some inner peace. Jay Baba.
Yeah, beautiful, great. No, that's there's a line where Baba said to Arnavas, "It is nothing to give in when you are wrong, but it has spiritual value to give in when you are right." That's a bitter pill to swallow. It's just hard to go against what you know as the truth on the worldly level. Yeah. Okay.
It's Terry, by the way, and I notice of late that when I invite Baba to be with me, like if I'm cooking something, or like today I was even like doing this like massage tool on Diane, you know, on her back. And when I bring Baba in to do it with me, all of a sudden it doesn't feel as much of a task. It feels, I don't know, it's like I'm gone out of there, and it's just Baba in there doing whatever it is, and it doesn't feel, or I have a pal, I don't know what it is, maybe you can help me with it, but I just, when I bring him into the task, whatever it is I'm doing, all of a sudden it doesn't feel like a task anymore. It feels like a pleasure.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. That's how it should be. All the time. That would be great.
Yeah. Elizabeth.
Good evening. Yeah, I was thinking about what Ray was talking about. Baba actually wrote a discourse on real work. And in the discourses and also in this other treatise, he talked about that the important thing is the cooperation and the working together. And that if you're doing work with a group and there's conflict, it destroys the actual benefit of the work. And he said that many times. So anyway, that's all. I just wanted to reinforce that. Thank you.
Yeah, if we can get to harmony, that's the best. Yeah.
And Janet.
Well, I'm kind of a lagger, and Bob has been really misbehaving in me the last week. I had, after this horrible shooting in Boulder, I had this feeling like, oh my God, I just love people for who they are. I don't care, right? So that was famous last words. And in the week following that, a person who thinks of themselves not as an angry person got angry. I mean, like meltdown angry in my Xfinity office. I could tell you all the reasons why it was justified, but that's why I say Baba really misbehaved. And then other things just annoyed me that I mean, I just was observing that, oh my God, Baba, you are misbehaving. You are getting annoyed, at this good, bad thing. I'm really glad that it's beyond good and bad, because I'll tell you, I see the bad. That's, I mean, I'm not saying horrible. These were not murderous things, but it was misbehaving. It wasn't the kindness that Ray was talking about. It wasn't the apologies that Tina was talking about. I did think of going back to the Xfinity office and apologizing, but I thought, oh, it would only create another big scene. I already did one big scene there, but it's just what I got out of it. What I gleaned from it was about self-effacement and self-esteem of the spirit. And that self-effacement, I mean, this was actually good for me, I think, because for my being, because it's like, all right, I'm capable of being out of line. I mean, I was a bitch. Let's just say what it was. I'm capable of that. I'm capable of thinking very catty thoughts about friends. I'm capable of all kinds of things. And so self-effacement, and I mean, I'm interested in other people's, their interpretation, but to me, it sort of began to mean I'm not better than anyone. That, and I mean, that doesn't mean I want Baba to continue misbehaving in me, but I'm not better than anyone. And that is the attitude that thinking that I'm better than someone, that attitude really takes me away from love, takes me away from loving Baba. And the self-esteem of the spirit is like, that's what lifts up. This is what started being, this is what started making sense to me. That the self-esteem of the spirit is a feeling of being lifted, not above anyone or anything, but lifted on the innermost level, irregardless of whether I was a bitch at people who didn't deserve to be spoken with that way, or whether I was kind to someone who really needed kindness. That the spirit, yeah, that's all I need to say. Thank you.
No, beautifully said. These are real subtle nuances. Beautifully said. But I remember, reading where Baba said when and I mentioned this last time, when Baba's mother would come to Mehrabad there in the late 30s, early 40s, and he said, he confessed sometimes he feels like murdering his mother. So just think, it's not the thoughts. And we can have a wide range of thoughts and kind of tone them down as far as what we say and do.
Yeah, well, that didn't happen for me this week. Just saying.
Yeah. It humbles you though. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Now,
no other hands up?
We tackle the good bad scale.
All right.
This is where it gets a little complicated.
Tell me, which one is it?
Bad scale.
Okay, the good bad scale. We have been basing our value, our sense of self, on a scale of good and bad, but we must discard that scale as we rise above the dual level. Casting aside the good bad scale does not mean that we discard responsibility or the values of good and bad in our actions. We must develop the good before we break free of it. Therefore, as we advance spiritually, we continue trying to do good while at the same time setting aside the burden of the good-bad scale. However, goodness is not meant to be a goal in itself, Baba says goodness is the means by which the soul annihilates its own ignorance. It is a byproduct of raising the consciousness and is a necessary step towards selfishness. Oh, selflessness. A little bit of a difference there, sorry. As such, it is not meant to be focused on, but more or less ignored. Setting aside the good-bad scale is a gradual process. We may start our feeling, I did this, or I was good, or I was bad, but eventually we say, I did the best I could. We neither seek recognition nor beat ourselves up about anything. We rest in the knowledge that Baba has an image of us in which we are free of the gross level. We find that we are happier when we pursue this course of setting aside the good-bad scale and identify with Baba's image of us. We experience upliftment of the spirit rather than of the ego, and we gradually move into freer levels of consciousness. In other words, we are expanding our consciousness and at the same time trying not to expand the I. It becomes a matter of personal unfoldment.
Yeah. This one is, I don't know if it bears reading again because, I mean, this is loaded.
If you want, I could reread it, and that way you'd have
Yeah.
Terry and Diane. Would you like me to?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the, this is a very key to inner harmony, to know the difference between not buying into the good bad scale and on one hand and love on the other.
The good bad scale. We have been basing our value, our sense of self, on a scale of good and bad, but we must discard that scale as we rise above the dual level. Casting aside the good-bad scale does not mean that we discard responsibility or the values of good and bad in all our actions. We must develop the good before we break free of it. Therefore, as we advance spiritually, we continue trying to do good while at the same time setting aside the burden of the good-bad scale. However, goodness is not meant to be the goal itself. Baba says, goodness is the means by which the soul annihilates its own ignorance. Goodness is the means by which the soul annihilates its own ignorance. It is a byproduct of raising consciousness, and it is a necessary step towards selflessness. As such, it is not meant to be focused on, but more or less ignored. Setting aside the good-bad scale is a gradual process. We may start out feeling, I did this, or I was good, or I was bad, but eventually we say, I did the best I could. We neither seek recognition nor beat ourselves up about anything. We rest in the knowledge that Baba has an image of us in which we are free of the gross level. We find that we are happier when we pursue this course of setting aside the good-bad scale and identifying with Baba's image of us. We experience upliftment of the spirit rather than of the ego, and we gradually move into freer levels of consciousness. In other words, we are expanding our consciousness and at the same time trying not to expand the I. It becomes a matter of personal unfoldment.
It's interesting is what Janet was talking about is experiencing the upliftment of the spirit, even though her ego was acting out, but didn't lose sight of the fact of the spirit behind it all.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about it. It is so deeply embedded in our perception. I mean, whenever we meet somebody, inherently we put them in two different bins, not so good and bad. I mean, automatically we say, "Oh, he's a good guy," which tells us that there is something else which needs to be bad. So, I mean, it's so deep rooted, and I mean that applies to ourselves too. Though we may not say that it's a good thing I did or a bad thing I did, we just keep quiet. So So, and this can be tough. I mean, to go past this good bad scale and requires a whole lot of effort, I suppose. At least, I mean, these days I did try a little bit. I mean, I've learned to just sort of keep quiet. Actually, I mean, when people try to put people in bins of good and bad, I just try to take my thoughts away from that, conversation. I don't know if it helps, but at least I'm trying to avoid this particular casting people, others, and probably myself too, in the same bin of being acting in a good sense or a bad sense. So, I mean,
Yeah.
at least to me, it requires a lot of effort.
Yeah. Beautiful, Prakash. Yeah. No, it's a daily challenge.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm very hard on myself. I am very open with everybody else, but on myself, my standards are way too high, unrealistic. But one of the things that I started doing that has really helped me, when I go to bed at night and I'm kind of doing my conversation with Baba, and I go through physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually the things that happened that day. And then I ask myself, did I do my best? And somehow when I do that, it removes the heavy judgment that I put on myself. I can just look at it more objectively and go, yeah, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, let's just call it what it is. And then I'll go, okay. And then at the end of the week, I can see patterns of where I get myself physically, mentally, or emotionally, spiritually. It's sort of a theme that goes on. And anyway, I don't know if it helped anybody else, and I hope I'm being clear, but just asking that question, did I do my best? And then being more objective with it. I'm not beating myself up because I'm not the perfect wife, mother, grandmother, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Excellent. No, really, very good, Wendy. And that kind of goes with what Darwin said here, rather than thinking I was good, I was bad, but eventually I did the best I could.
Yeah.
It's a very, that's no small little remark that Darwin says there on that. It's on the second to the last paragraph.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what twigged me to that. Anyway, Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jai Baba. And Marcia.
Lately, after doing these prayers of entrusting everything good or bad that you think or speak to Baba, and then I'm like hard on myself. I remember this sentence that I read somewhere that I say, I renounce that I'm either good or bad. Therefore, as ego spirit, I'm free. And I just keep that in my mind because Baba says to, we're harder on ourselves than Baba's harder on us, like whatever. So I keep saying that to myself. I'm the kind of person who likes to avoid confrontation. And, I guess just from my childhood, but I'm just feeling much better lately. I think this Passover has been a really heavy time this whole week, a lot of stuff going on, but I think he's just stirring the pot, like good or bad, it doesn't matter. And like if somebody's right or wrong, who cares? It's like your relationship is really with God, and everything else is like he's the first. Remember last week, the first source. That's it, is God. So, you just try to be good, though. You don't try to go act like a crappy person. You just. But if you don't make it to number one, don't beat yourself up. He says, smile even if you have don't have a garlic face, right? Smile. So okay, Baba.
Good, Marcia. Yeah.
Thank you. So always in my life, being caught up in comparison judgment of self, judgment of others, wanting to be gooder, kind of like wower, wanting to be good because of insecurity. But this is the line that really spoke to me. We rest in the knowledge that Baba has an image of us in which we are free of the gross level. And that is Baba's image of us is the truth. We rest rest right into that embrace of the truth, which is that this gross level stuff, it's not who I am. Who I am is free of that. I'm spirit. I'm made of spirit, and that is what Baba sees. And that when I can like lean back into the embrace of that and not get caught by those hooks of comparing or judging myself or others, I can find peace. And the experience of my life is clearer. I'm not being dragged down. I'm just clearer and, as Darwin says, happier. So
Beautiful.
that's my experience. Thank you.
Excellent. No, this is so clear.
Well, actually, Betty was summing up what I was going to reflect on, actually. So, but I did want to make point to the second paragraph. Goodness is the means by which the soul annihilates its own ignorance. Baba said that, and it's a byproduct of raising the consciousness and is a necessary step towards selflessness. So as such, it's not meant to be focused on, but more or less ignored. And I'm curious because the approach that I feel Darwin's exposing us to, and the it feels to me like the steps I'm on right now is about raising my consciousness or expanding it so that I'm not in the conditioned reaction mind, which is basically what Betty was talking about. But I didn't understand the following step, that it was that the way this is written, I have it underlined and highlighted, and it's confusing me a little bit. Goodness is the means by which the soul annihilates its ignorance. So, and the byproduct of that is raising consciousness. So I'm backwards with that in my thinking somehow. So I'm not able to sort these few sentences out very well right now. But because I believe that not necessarily raising your consciousness, but expanding the awareness of consciousness, which is the spirit. So then by settling into that embrace of the spirit, like Betty says, or I imagine the wrapping of my soul in Baba's soul, that what I feel is what we're doing as a practice, then it's easier not to be up in the mind going to the conditions, because from eons we've been in condition, good and bad, mom and dad, right and left, and everything has the gross scale to it. So the good bad scale lives in that realm. So, I don't want to go on and repeat what Betty said, but if anybody has anything about those three sentences that could help me out, that'd be great. But anyway, Jay Baba.
Yeah, excellent, Patty. Beautiful.
Meher Prasad.
Yes, I thought I'll share what I do the first thing in the morning and the last thing before I go to bed. And this is something that Baba himself said that you should do. And I found this to be extremely useful and, day-to-day life, very easy to do, because this happens before you wake up. You say, Baba, I now begin entrusting all thoughts, words, and deeds to you. And you say that for 5 minutes. And I imagine Baba doing this in the East-West gathering where he does this. At night, you say, Baba, I entrust all that I did, thought, or spoke, good and bad, to you. And you say that for 5 minutes. And I imagine Baba taking all that, because he actually does that 3 times, as if, he's taking all that you did, thought, or spoke, and then he does good and bad, as if he emphasizes that good and bad like this. So I found that when we do that for 5 minutes wholeheartedly, all that we, whether it's good or bad, doesn't matter anymore. It just goes to him.
Yeah, beautiful. It gets dissolved in him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Erich encouraged, that all the time.
And Ray.
Yeah, responding for Patty, I think that it's just for us in gross consciousness that we're the dummies we are. When we're good, Baba said, goodness is the means by which the soul annihilates its own ignorance. The dummies are trying to be good, so they annihilate them. And then he says, it is a byproduct of raising consciousness. So your consciousness is raised, so you try to do the right thing. And it is a necessary step towards selflessness. As such, and this is the line I think that the answer, as such, it is not meant to be focused on, but more or less ignored. So you see it and you say, I got to be good, but that really doesn't, that's the step. So not to really get confused by it, just try and be good. And that's just his way of telling us, this is how you try and fix something and then get ready for the next step by trying to, be good, like Miss Scrooge, finally being a good guy, That's my, thank you.
Yeah, good. I think of good or like the training wheels on a bike until the love is awakened enough in us that we can steer ourselves without the training wheels. I mean, they have their place in our development, in our spiritual development. But once our intuition and our love gets enough of a hold of as the doer, then we can like Darwin said, we can shuffle off the good. Why be good when you can be loving? And I'll tell you a sign for me when I know that I'm identifying with good. It's when I look at other people who are bad and I'm critical of them or judgmental of them. Then I know that I've identified with good. Now, if I do something out of love, I'm actually much more tolerant and generous because love is a privilege. So I don't hold the fact that someone else isn't loving against them. I feel I'm privileged to have some moments of love. So I don't know. That's a sign for me. When I'm judging something, I'm somewhere on the good bad scale. I'm a little bit better on the good bad scale than that person over there, but big deal.
Yeah, the question I think that might present the answer is, what is meant by goodness is the means by which the soul annihilates its own ignorance? I mean, how does goodness do this? When you're being good, how is it that the soul is annihilating its own ignorance? I mean, what is going on? I mean, it's very clear that goodness is not the goal to be attained, because then you're just adding to your ego, which is the opposite of what we're supposed to be doing in terms of self-effacement, which allows us to more easily merge into oneness. But it doesn't really say
Yeah.
why this exists. And if we understood that, then we would know what that means. At least I would know what it means.
Yeah. I knew you were going to ask that question, Elizabeth. No, it's a good question because, I mean, how does he jump from goodness to the soul annihilating itself? And I mean, my feeling is that goodness after a while is too confining. You know, you're good. A lot of people are good for a long time, and they get tired of being good because it's not spontaneous enough. And I think you kind of get fed up with goodness and go toward the spontaneity of love.
So maybe it's that the being good becomes a mechanical process instead of being inspired by love, which is spontaneously springing from the heart. It acts as a resistance, kind of like a flow of electricity. When you have resistance, and it prevents the flow. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I'm just
But I think it's in that territory.
But it's interesting that it's a byproduct of raising consciousness. So as one's consciousness is raised, you automatically, I guess, are doing more and more things that are considered, quote, good. But maybe you're just doing them more spontaneously without thinking about them. In other words, springing from the heart.
Yeah, I mean, it's this transition from good over into love. I mean, I'm sure Baba has a lovely time at watching us make that transition from being good over to being open to the love that he really wants to express in this world.
So Maya Prasad answered one of the questions I had, which was related to Patty's question, which is also related to what Elizabeth said, to start the day, which I'm going to also do. Just speaking to Baba and saying, I always begin, good morning, Baba, I love you, Baba, I love you, Baba. And then take 5 minutes to just say, let me have my thoughts, my words, and deeds especially be offering to serve you. Taking that and like soaking my being, because the conditioning is very different. And then as Elizabeth and other people spoke, it gave me this thought. So there's Jesus, and he says, Father, forgive them, for they know what not they do, as he's on the cross. We're in Easter, especially now. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Jesus is completely not judging, from what I can sense, and loving. He's in a space, because I'm asking myself, I'd like to see this in action. Of course, we can't see this in action, but we can feel those words. And what I then do to make this as real as possible, so it's pragmatic, the goodness annihilates the ego. If I would more and more see Baba right wherever I am, he's my constant companion, but I forget that he's there. If I actually could get so aware, which takes practice, I believe, a lot of practice, to have Baba maybe either right in front of me or right next to whoever I'm near, or near me if I'm doing thinking. But can you imagine if we're all together at the Pilgrim Center and the beloved is there? I'm just going to say it this way. You know we're going to be doing everything good. You know we're going to do everything we can good. You know we're going to be as loving as we can to one another and to Baba. And so the habit of being good at a certain point can begin to annihilate the ego, soften it, bend it. But I need to really, really not just visualize, but I have to have the intention. I have to somehow not just believe. I'm looking for a word beyond belief, but I think you know what I'm kind of getting. By seeing Baba wherever I am, if so many things that I would encounter, I would approach it with very different words and a very different tone. Jesus says, Father, forgive them. They are ignorant. They are in duality. They are so conditioned, Father. Jesus is not saying, give them a break. You know, Lord, these are your kids. They're completely conditioned in their own spinning zone of good and bad. But he calmly says, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. If I could, and it's a challenge, I don't know how to be in Baba's presence more and more, whether it's, there's so many different situations we're in. And if I can remember that, I don't know how to, I have to be very careful not to ask how questions. I have to come up with my own answer. Because I remember many years ago, a person in a little gathering, an old Zen student, got a little bit upset at somebody in a nice way. He said, how questions, you have to answer them yourself. Yes, we do get some help from our friends. How am I going to be in Baba's presence more and more? I guess I have to be more conscious of my breath, breathing in Baba's love, breathing out Baba's love. And I need something to just connect me to an awareness. Like when somebody loves you and they touch your face, I love you. They don't even have to say it. We know it. I have to have my breath. It is Baba's breath. So that conditioning, I think, of course, haunts me. That judging mind haunts me. If I can have the humility of Jesus on the cross, or Moses at the burning bush, or Buddha in a variety of situations where the presence is so beyond description. Of course he takes off his shoes. Of course he humbles himself in front of the burning bush. As Baba is saying, this is your next step to get through the desert. It's all about being in Baba's presence. I can't do it because I really want to. I can't do it because I really intend to. This is not getting a degree or winning a race or cleaning the house before my wife comes back so it looks just the way she wants. I know it's a silly thing. I got to do it because Bob is right there. He says, look, give yourself a little bit more time, Jeff. You don't have to race. I'm right here with you. I love you. Oh, to self-efface and begin the day, just, Baba, let me just have my thoughts, my words, my deeds with you. Let me be self-effacing as much as I can. I'm going to see you as much as I can and touch base with my breath. I think just being with Bob as much as I can in my presence, in his presence, in my consciousness, will allow me to continue to do a lot of good, more than I could possibly think I could. And that good annihilates the ego. I think it's a process of being so good, so consistently, that you take off the second O on good, and you're getting closer and closer to God. You're getting past the good and closer to God, and somehow there's a grace of love. I would like to think something like what I'm saying will happen to me. I can't say it will be beautifully happening to you, but if it happens in your own way or that way, I think this is a very grace-filled kind of thing. But by being with Baba more and more, he's right in front of you. When somebody says something upsetting, just as you would speak with Baba right there. Speak to that person.
Yeah, I was thinking that it's, if we have Baba with us, as Jeff was saying, so then the question is, well, yeah, Baba's not in the body, so we're not with him, because remember that story that Tom Riley tells when he went to Guru Prasad the first time, and he got out of the car, and it was so overwhelming, he just found himself doing this. So to have Baba's presence will do the good to love. You know, it'll help you. So then the question is really, well, we know that, we've heard the stories and we believe it. I think is, well, how do you do that? Now, Baba said, take my name, repeat my name. My name is more powerful than I am. So try and say Mera Baba as much as possible. Mera quoted, is it Hafez saying, steal the name of God, rob it, you know, say it as much as possible. And then Baba also said, you know, to help us, because, you know, tell someone to say Baba's name all the time, you know, I mean, it's nice to say, and it's nice to think that you're going to do, but how are you going to, you know, you have to have a time. So Baba said, in the morning, at 12 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, and when you go to bed, that's all you got to do. So I have an alarm on my phone for 12 o'clock. I have it for 11:55. And when it goes off, I know I got 5 minutes, and I try and get the clock out and look at it and just wait. And I do it at 5 o'clock also. When I go to bed at night, it's easy because I remember Baba. In fact, I say that thing about, you know, I give everything. So the point is, how do you keep Baba in your life? Baba said, you only got to do it 4 times. That's all. And I'll be with you. Don't worry if you don't feel me. I'm with you. So, and then the other thing is, Baba said, when you say the prayers, I'm with you. I'm there with you. So I say the prayers every morning, and Baba's with me, even though I don't feel him, because sometimes the mind goes, woo, woo, right? So I think that those ways to keep Baba in our lives is to say his name 4 times a day, and maybe you say the prayers. That's how I try and, you know, get to, there's no getting to, but try and do this. Jai Baba.
Yeah. Excellent, Ray. Beautiful.
Yeah. And Jasimha.
Yeah, I mean, it's just my observation. What I feel is in East, good and bad matters a lot. It's very deep rooted. But I feel in the West, I mean, people are not judged on good and bad much as in the East. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. You mean we're bad? More.
No, I mean, like you got the love, more love. You pass the goodness.
Yeah, well, that is very unique, Jasima. I mean that, because I find the people in India very wholesome and good, and on the whole, much more giving and loving and everything. But you're there, you grew up in that culture, so you know it intimately.
Thank you. I wish I was able to track this better. It's a confusing day for me. There's a couple things I wanted to comment on, but to hone in on what Mayor Prasad was saying about the practice of saying, Baba, I now begin entrusting all thoughts, words, and deeds to you. I've done that for years when I wake up and when I go to bed. And the thing that was disheartening about it is, to me, that was no matter what I did it. I did it for about 5 minutes, and I'm kind of anal, and I would actually put a timer by me to make sure it was 5 minutes, whether that's smart or not. That's just what I did, because my perfectionism would say, if I'm supposed to do it for 5 minutes, put a timer on or else I'll cheat. It's that simple. And I would like to hear feedback about putting a timer, whether that is a good, bad idea or what. Thing is, no matter what I did, I didn't feel any movement. So it was just an exercise that I did. And it was disheartening that I never felt any movement. But then maybe it's ever since Effort and Grace, I would literally, what I've been doing is when I'd say I now begin entrusting, at some point I'd put my hands in front of me and lift up something, and I felt a little bit of movement in, and that's it. I just don't know what to make of it more than that. I would like to feel more movement. And I still think back to, out of all the like healing exercises I did, I would get one thing back. And I think it was basically physical toxins that were in my system. So now I'm back to basics, doing it all over again. That's why I've been doing the meditation that Stuart does. I do that a number of times during a week, and I've seen more movement. And to piggyback, I'm sorry, I couldn't be more engaged because there's been such great juice in this meeting, and it's been just, I'm stuttering through this. I don't know really how to make sense, because there's, I've been able, at the beginning of Effort and Grace, I was able to think it through more. And of late, I have not been able to engage with the reading, no matter how hard I try. And I think my mind is just lazy. On the other hand, the theme, when I did introspective work years ago to see how the heck did I get here, when I ping-pong back and forth in my mind, thinking I'm a lazy bum and I'm garbage, to really look at the efforts I put through. The theme was I did the best I could with what I had. That was the bottom line of it. I did the best I could with what I had. And now, can I do better? Or do I need to accept my station in life, which is basically something I can't accept unless I absolutely have to. So when I look at my intellect on paper, I can get a PhD, and I had to settle for far less than a PhD. So I don't know, I'm getting the divine stop sign, so I'll put my brakes on that. So I'm not sure how to go any farther, but yeah, when I think of that prayer in the morning and at night, I just never got any traction from it. I just never felt any traction. So if anyone has any feedback, I'm home now. I'll be able to listen better. Thanks, Pat.
Good, Peter. Yeah. No, I like what you say there, is that you doing the best you can may not be the best that some other human being can do. It's kind of what is the best that you can do in the moment. And it may be way below your previous efforts, but it has to be kind of relative to where you are in that moment. Otherwise, you'll be beating yourself up because you're falling short. Our ideals are way ahead of our actual ability. In fact, eventually, I think we have to throw away a lot of our ideals because they can make us feel quite miserable.
Diane or Terry?
When I raised my hand, Peter, you hadn't spoken yet. So I have something first I want to share with you. This week I did a breathing thing with Brad, and it was interesting because I missed the whole beginning. I was at a doctor's appointment. And so when I came in, I was really listening to people's comments. I wasn't even really in it, but I was listening carefully. And this gal, Cheryl, she said that when he talked about breathing, and he talked about breathing with the feet and the legs and the hips, and for some reason that really worked for me. Like, I had never thought about taking my breath in those places. I think about the belly, the heart, in your nose and your mouth. And there was something about that. I too am a perfectionist. And I when I do it, I let go of everything. And it came through Baba. And so it reminds me of Baba at the same time, which is amazing. And it was just a little tiny gift that I just happened to hear that really has gone inside me and has become like a new lifestyle for me and my daily routine. So I just wanted to share that with you. And then I wanted to share with everybody. I don't know why this is, but I think we spend so much time on Zoom that we are constantly thinking about Baba. I mean, I have never thought about Baba like I have in the last year. I mean, this is like, I mean, you can do Baba 24/7 almost. I mean, you got to sleep. So this is Baba. This is it. This is all of you and all of us. And it just blows me away. I just have to say that it's an amazing thing. And thank you, Baba and Jay Baba. And thank you, everyone, for contributing.
Yeah. So very interesting what you say there, though, that the whole body can breathe, not just the nose and the lungs. Your whole body can actually breathe, and it's very liberating. There's something very liberating about that.
Yeah. Marcia.
I've been having difficulty with my dog. Like when I want to go, I'm walking for an hour and she doesn't want to go home and she lays down. And then I found myself trying to pull her to get her to go home. So I thought about it and I said, this was starting to really depress me because, I started thinking about it. And then I remembered the effort and grace and said, well, you can change, you have your mind conditioning things so you can figure out how to change it. And I said, well, I'm smarter than the dog. So I started bringing treats, and she got tired of her treats, but I know she likes cheese. So I go out with a bag of cheese and a bag of this, but then sometimes she still lays down. So I said, well, Baba says, when you really need him, to call on him. And I said, if I'm entrusting everything to him, he's put me in the situation. So I'll say, Baba, come on. And then all of a sudden somebody will come along with a dog and my dog gets up and starts to follow the dog, or she'll lay down in the street and a car comes and she gets up. So I have to he sends these little messengers along the way so I can get her because I was getting really angry at her, but I don't get angry at anybody. I'm saying I really love my dog and I'm so mad at her, right? But she's a dog. She doesn't know. But she's very smart. She knows she's mastered me, but I said, I'm smarter than her and call on Baba. And I still haven't completely resolved it, but now I've even taken to putting the car in the driveway and taking her in the car and driving her somewhere and taking her out, and because she likes to go in the car. But it's otherwise I was going to get so mad at her that I was going to tie her up on the street and leave her. But I said, no, I can't do that, right? But also the mindful thing that you're talking about, I just took a mindful class workshop, and they say, breathe in through your nose, and then you breathe out through your toes and up through your toes, and you go through your feet, the top of your feet, the under part of your feet, to your whole body, and it really does work. And then the second session was to sit down and watch your breathing, breathe in and out and watch your breathing. And then you also take time and watch your thoughts, and examine your thoughts, but let them go. And then how your body sensations. So you go through each part of your body. And by the time you do that, if you do it in bed, you fall asleep and you feel pretty empty. It's pretty good. Yeah. So, anybody wants me to share that story? Well, it's like I have to handle it because I love her. And I almost started yelling at her, like I'm yelling at my dog, right? But then I remembered that Baba once, when I think one of the dogs bit somebody, or he hit the dog. And I said, I don't want to really hit the dog, but I actually dragged her for a block and just let her know I was really mad, without, you have to I had to do something instead of just saying, hey, it's okay. And I'm going to give you treats for being bad, But it's if anybody has any suggestions about dog training, it's oh my God. Anyway, this stuff really helps. Going back to the heart part, there was a couple weeks ago we read about the heart, and every time you open up the page, it's just it's repeating the same thing, but on different levels, So every time you read it, you pick up something else. So it's a good book for somebody writing at 95, right? Or 96.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jay Baba.
Yeah, Jay Baba, Marsha. Wonderful.
And Robin?
I was thinking when Peter was talking how there's like methods to try to get closer to Bob and please him or whatever. And for me, I have to sort of refresh different ones, I guess. Like they seem to work for a while and I do get some action from it or whatever. But I also was thinking that, you know, we have to do our best, but the results are totally Baba's. So, and even before that, when Jeff was saying, you can get tired of being good. I think we get tired of being good when we are expecting results from it and not getting them, you know? So it's, I don't know, it's just a continuous tricky thing, but I think having faith and not being attached to the results and just doing the things that come up, you know, the next best practice or whatever. I think looking for the results gets in the way of everything. That's all.
Yeah, good. Yeah, like you were kind of saying, you have a whole repertoire of things you do to remember Baba, and if one isn't working this morning, you do this other one, and if that's not working, you keep switching around, right? Kind of.
Yeah, well, like new things come up. Like Jim Meyer had sang for 15 minutes the Satchidanand Paramanan, and so like I've been doing that every morning for like 20 minutes, and I love it, and it feels like, you know, just a wonderful thing to be doing. And I don't know if I feel like I want to do it forever. Plus I sing it in the woods at the center, you know, it keeps coming up and it feels good, but I want to be careful not to think that I have to get a certain result from it, because then it kind of corrupts it or corrupts me or this journey or something. But, you know, it like reading the book or hearing all of you, there's always a new twist or a new way, new practice or a new, you know, focus. And for a while it feels juicy and exciting and like it's really gonna, you know, somehow get me closer to Baba. And then it maybe gets a little stale or a new thing comes up that seems even better. So I really try not to put parameters on it, you know, and have expectations about it and just do it. But I do seem to keep getting different variations or new things to try.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Same with myself.
Yeah, I agree. And Elizabeth.
Okay, so I have two things. One is related to what Peter and Robin just finished saying. The other one's related to the dog. And my first thought when you were talking about your dog is the dog okay? Does he have some pain in his hind legs or something? I would definitely go to a vet or go to not necessarily an allopathic, maybe a homeopathic vet, and one who does acupressure or acupuncture or does injections and acupuncture points. But I would just, I definitely would never pull the dog or just to give treats. There's something going on. So I would make sure there's no physical injury that you don't know about. That would be the first thing. Anyway, that's my little baby suggestion. The other thing, when Peter was talking, and it was kind of confirmed by, not confirmed, what Robin said kind of dovetailed into what I was thinking. What I was hearing Peter saying was that what he was doing, what it sounded like to me, is that it was almost a more mechanical process. You said it at this time, you go 5 minutes, you do this, you do. I would go nuts if I tried to do that. So I was thinking the maybe the issue is less focus on the goal and the structure and more on the isness of whatever he's doing. You know, the actual trying to feel the feeling of or the isness of the being with Baba, and not so much a stricture. Because when you have something around your throat, you can't be relaxed and at ease and feel joy and be uplifted. When you take that away and you feel something that gives you joy inside of you, then you can think of Baba. And you also, like Robin said, there's no goal there. No goal. It's the isness of it. Anyway, I hope I explained that okay. But
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Excellent.
I think actually Robin nailed it, and I was going to talk exactly about that. And that comes from my personal experience. You see, with Baba, one harmful thing in our spiritual journey can be to have expectation, self-evaluation, self-observation. You know, it's like we're doing part of the work that Master is doing. That's what surrender is. That's what Darwin here is talking about, self-surrendering. When we come to Master, we got to wholeheartedly accept that he is in charge. We've got to accept that we have dedicated our life to him. And he's the only doer. He is the only doer. We are not doing anything. In fact, we don't even exist. He alone exists. Why? Because he alone is real. Now, how do we deal with that? We don't think about it. Because in the beginning, when I learned about it, it made me very disappointed. And that was natural. That was about perhaps 20 years ago. And because I was having this analysis paralysis, self-evaluation. No, not with Baba. He's given us the break. That's why he said the age of reasoning is gone. Now we are in an age of intuition. So we've got to trust that we could rely on intuition. He resides in our heart. And many times when I have questions, if I become quiet, silence my mind, close my eyes, sit idle, don't think about anything, ask him the question, his answer is coming. I can reassure you his answer is coming. Because he said, when you wholeheartedly you want something from me, I dare not to neglect you. I dare not to neglect you. So this journey, and I think this section, Darwin explains it so well, just as usual, because he talks about this effort that at first, it's a slow process and so forth. And then he suggests that we don't think about it because like when we're playing tennis and we fail, we don't go back and say, oh, I failed. Guess what? Life is coming. A stream of life is coming. Our life is like that tennis playing. Or I take a class, kickboxing class, actually 3 times a week. I don't think when I am doing it, because when I'm doing something wrong, one more, and that's it. That's it with Baba. We don't need no clock, no 12 o'clock, I'm sorry, no 5, no. It's okay if it works for you. I mean, we are individualized soul. We're here with different background and samskaras. What may work for me may not work for the person next to me. But, it's really not that hard, because Darwin here explains as we go on and ego's domination diminishes little by little. We merge in a God's consciousness, and he gladly shares part of his God consciousness with us. So sometimes some things that we say, it's not even might be us. Baba is talking through us. We should trust that, and perhaps many times is my false self. But when he says that self-surrendering, he says self-effacement is nothing but self-surrendering to the highest of the high. And even when there are thoughts, other thoughts than repeating his name or thinking about him, the thought of him is so dominant that other thoughts stay in a weak position. It could even go parallel. Like when I'm thinking of Baba, I might think about my son too. But a thought of Baba is dominating, is taking over. That's a self-surrendering. He is all. He is it. He is all. So I surrender totally to him. And he gladly takes care of many things. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Excellent, Mahu.
It's all because of you, Jeff.
No, you're bordering on plan A. That's
Hi, just a comment about when we get frustrated on our progress, and we suffer. It's so hard to want to feel that you want to feel Baba, or you want to feel that something's happening. Peter, I can identify with that, and part of my thing is that at the end, we don't know what's going to happen in the end. We're like locomotives that are slowly taking up speed on a railroad. It takes a while to get us going. And we don't know in the end of this life what will happen to our consciousness when we leave the body. My idea, but Baba said, all the suffering and I'm forgetting the quote, but is my doing, and it is all for the best outcome for you. So it means that you might be going up that mountain, and it's pretty hard and it's pretty steep. And I said, let's say it's me. I said to Baba, I got to get better legs. I got to get better muscles. Please help me. And what you find out? You're climbing up a mountain. You forget that you asked him to get stronger, and here you are. And it takes so much time, and it's only over, like Yogi Berra said, it's not over until it's over, till you get to the top. So all the time during this life, we'll be banging our heads against the wall, trying harder and harder. But we don't. Baba said it's all worth it. And my idea is, we hear of the Mandali people that when they were passing, they just opened up and they just looked. Now I don't put myself in the same league, but the idea is that Baba is going to be there for us, welcoming us, saying, good job, you did good. All right, here's your next assignment. I hope that makes sense, but it's just that we never know why we're climbing up this mountain, but we asked for it, so we need it. Thank you.
There's a line from Bob Dylan where he says, climb that mountain no matter how high, because we ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
And thank you for the people that have been making comments while I'm wrestling on what to say here. The initial reason why I raised my hand was because somebody was mentioning the pain in their dog or in their own body. And this is no coincidence, because there was a professional I just started working with on Friday. He's in Canada. I'm in Florida. So we did Zoom. We did a session via Zoom. And he backdoored me. And he was asking me to trace the pain in my body, because I have a lot of pain and a lot of arthritis. And the interesting thing is, I don't want to question his interpretation too much, but he was saying he traced it back to when I was a little kid, and I didn't feel protected. I was like scared out of my mind, and how I was like locked down. And when I was doing a meditation the other day, well, anyway, one brief point to try to make this brief is he took the pain and he traced it back to when I was a little kid, and when I was in a lot of fear and standing still, I couldn't move, so to speak. And one of the meditations I started to do was literally say, Baba's feeling this, and dare I say, bring a little boy in and say, you know, the parents aren't protecting us. Mom and dad, sorry, well, just between us on Effort and Grace, parents aren't here to protect us. Parents were somewhere else. And then I said, but we have the most powerful force in the universe protecting us both. And I can't say I totally buy into it, but at least it's enacting as if with me to say, Mayor Baba's here. And he's here. He says he's the protector of all and the most powerful force in the universe here to protect us. So more or less, let's go with it. And I'll pass with that. But anyway, thank you for all the other comments. I'm still chewing and digesting them.
Yeah.
Pass.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Peter. Yeah. So I think we're kind of down here to at the end of the main road, and the lagoon cabin's at the end of the road. Let's see. Let's have a moment of silence. Well, let's see. Let's have a few moments of silence, and then Bill had something that Darwin liked very much, and also a song that Gene Shaw liked. So let's have a few moments of silence now. Jai Baba.
I was thinking this past week about some of the poems that Darwin liked very much, and very often at Castine Street in Schenectady, he would open the meeting. The meetings would start at 7:30, and well, we might go till 7:45, sort of chatting. He'd open the meeting with a poem. It might be from Jeannie Robert Foster, because she used to send him and Jean so many of her poems. Could have been Josephine Ross. It could have been something from one of the old Mayor Baba journals. But I think this poem was probably read by Darwin more than any other, and it's from the Gitanjali by Rabindranath Tagore, and that book, that beautiful book, won the Nobel Prize for English Literature in 1914. And I just happen to have a picture of this great soul, Tagore. And Darwin really loved not only this book of Tagore's, but also Tagore's English renderings of Kabir, which I find to be absolutely heavenly. I cannot read another Kabir translation after that. But this is the first poem in the Gitanjali, and somehow I feel Darwin is almost this poem, that if Darwin could write a poem like Tagore, he would have written this poem. Thou hast made me endless, such is thy pleasure. This frail vessel thou emptiest again and again, and fillest it ever with fresh life. This little flute of a reed thou hast carried over hills and dales, and hast breathed through it melodies eternally new. At the immortal touch of thy hands, my little heart loses its limits in joy, and gives birth to utterance ineffable. Thy infinite gifts come to me only on these very small hands of mine. Ages pass, and still thou pourest, and still there is room to fill.
Beautiful.
If you don't have this book, it's really worth it. Gitanjali is spelled, well, here's the cover of the book.
You know, just to tell you, Bill, about Tagore. Tagore was asked by a Baba person. In northern India, the name for Krishna is Thakur, one of the names, Thakur. T-A-K-U-R, Takur. And so someone asked Tagore who he felt Meher Baba is. And Tagore said, I am Tagore, and he is Thakur.
Wow. I like that.
He is Krishna.
That's very poetic, too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'd also like to share, this is Easter, of course, and a song that Jean really, really liked, but I want to do a little reading before I do that, because I think it might sort of fit in with the song, just a brief reading. But the song that Jean liked so much and would ask for is Lord of the Dance. And we would joke with her when she would ask for the song, come on, Jean, get up and dance. Get up, come on, do a few steps. And one time she actually did it, and we all cheered. It was so much fun, and she had really bad arthritis, so she was just sort of moving in slow motion. But anyway, I don't know if you know this book, He and I. These words that Jesus gave this French woman back in the 1940s. I first heard about it from Kathy Riley back in the 70s. She says, you've got to go to the library here in the center and read this book. It's the most exquisite book. It's like Baba's talking. And I felt it was authentic right away, and I just learned from Steve Klein that Erich had read from this book at times at Mandalay Hall. So just a few minutes ago, I took Baba's name and I opened it at random to a little passage here. And so I'll introduce Lord of the Dance with this passage. And Jesus talks to this woman as if she's his daughter. And she says to him, a light bulb was missing in front of the Blessed Sacrament. And she says to him, Lord, let my heart burn before you there in its place. And these were almost Baba's words from a Baba quote. This is his reply. To burn would not be enough. You must be consumed. I mean, you must burn right out. This is what I did for you, for all of you. Don't you feel the same desire to do the same for me? This is what it means to simplify everything in you to a single principle, a single elan towards your great friend. Isn't this restful? Isn't it your goal? And don't you find that this changes your entire being? You can see that my call is blessing, can't you? And that your response will bring you joy? Oh, answer unceasingly. Your strength will increase and you will give it to others so that it will go from soul to soul as a torch is passed from hand to hand. The living spring is your Christ. Drink at the very fountainhead. For the closer you come to the fountainhead, the more your cup will run over. Oh, my little girl, don't seek me far from yourself. You have me right within you, as a candle has its flame.
Beautiful.
And I remember Jean saying also that as a young child, or maybe as a teenager, she would do the Stations of the Cross, and she would weep as she went from station to station.
Yeah, and when they met Baba, I mean, it was like
Yeah.
meeting Jesus.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, they came out of that whole background, and there he was.
Yeah.
What Christian would give everything
Yeah.
just to meet Jesus himself?
So if anybody wants to get up and dance to this song, you're welcome. Dance, dance, wherever you may be, for I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all. Wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. I danced on the morning when the world was begun, danced for the moon and the stars and the sun, came down from heaven and I danced on earth, in Bethlehem I had my birth. Dance, dance, wherever you may be, for I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all. Wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. I danced for the scribes and the Pharisees, they would not dance, they would not follow me, so I danced with the fishermen and James and John. They came along and the dance goes on. Dance, dance, wherever you may be, for I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all. Wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. I danced on the Sabbath and I healed the lame. The holy people, they said it whipped me and they stripped me and they hung me high, left me there on the cross to die. Dance, dance, wherever you
may.
For I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all. Wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. I danced on the Friday when the world turned black. It's hard to dance with the devil on your back. They buried my body and they thought I'd gone, but I am the dance and the dance goes on. Dance, dance,
Wherever you may be.
For I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all. Wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. They cut me down and I leapt up high, for I am the truth that will never, never die. I'll live in you if you live in me, for I am the Lord of the dance, said he. Dance, dance, wherever you may be, for I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all. Wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. Lead you all in the dance, said he. Jai Baba.
Beautiful, Bill.
And
Love it.
Baba words, I think John Majak is one person that has put Baba lyrics to this with verses about Krishna and Buddha, and but that's another song. Same tune, but another version.
Yeah, lovely. Wow, and especially on Easter.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We have Rainey Eastman. I don't know if she is up for a song. I mean, I hate to spring it on you, but you are welcome to, or you are welcome to read a poem. She spent a lot of time with Francis Brabazon, and so she has been corrupted by him.
Good one. Okay, I'll read something someone here likes.
Read or sing.
Read or sing. Thank you, Mahu. Yeah. Let me see now.
Read and sing, Rainey.
Read and
Read and sing. Sing and read.
I can dance too, you know. I was raised as a dancer, not a singer. What to do? Oh, what to do? Too many outfits, what to wear. Eternal ancient one, sole creator one, in whose likeness we are made, finisher of what you have begun. Our song is no more, beloved, than the sighing of a breeze in your praise. We do not implore great boons or small benefits to fatten our days. Sufficient for the day are all those errors and shortcomings which to the day belong. Sufficient for the night is when you, beloved, are entertained by our simple song. You have come all the way from your beyond state to call your inspiring call. The lover exists only in the beloved. The beloved is all in all. Each one's song is sufficient in itself, whether or not by others it is heard. All songs are but reflections of one song, beloved, and that is your singing word. Eternal ancient one, he from whose breath was spun universes and our earth, finisher of what you have begun. Though we were to sing from now until time's end, we would be no more than a band of minstrels playing a one-night stand before your door. Yet our song is more pleasing to you than the chorale of the stars. Their song is free. Ours must be within the limitations of bars. The stars are the bees of creation surrounding the earth, their queen. Their song praises the earth ours, poured at your feet, makes love's desert green. Bondage is a girdle to keep spirit's figure pleasingly slim. When it can pass through a needle's eye, it is in spiritual trim. How serene are the stars. How disturbed is man. Oh yes, where am I? That threw me off. How serene are the stars. How disturbed is man. But man's disturbance pleases the beloved, for it shows he has lost self-assurance. Self and love cannot exist at the same time in the same place. Self seeks self's pleasure. Love longs for the sight of the beloved's face. Don't seek knowledge from the stars. Their glory is less than earth's clay, and the men of the stars are countless lives from where we stand today. Eternal ancient one, sun behind the sun, lighting all our days and ways, finisher of what you have begun. We set out in the long ago, in the dawn of creation. We set out singing in a sort of a nude jubilation. We had every reason to rejoice. We had just left your presence. Oh, beloved, we had no idea there'd be a billion years absence. A conducted tour of space with the stars as our guide, we thought. Oh God, no excursion ticket was ever so dearly bought. Presently, Earth loomed before us with a notice board, your trip ends here. And the angel part of us fled, but the man part stayed rooted in fear. But we knew that we would have to take up the load of births. We were children no longer. We were now men to inhabit Earth. And soon, well, soon it now seems, you, beloved, came swinging down the road, calling that bright call. The lover is only his own imagination. The beloved is all in all. You see, once we were children singing anthems and praises before the throne of the Lord. Now we're just the love street singers, filling in time, awaiting your lovely word.
Wow, beautiful. Wow, you served that up so clearly. And that, you know, I mean, Francis just coming, I guess he wrote that after he had spent the 10 years with Baba. And, you know, this is the way.
Actually, he wrote this for Baba's last birthday, February 25th, 1968.
Oh.
It's in a Singing to the Eternal Beloved, Jeff.
Oh, okay. So Baba heard that.
Oh, yes. And so they decided actually when they did The Beloved is All in All that it should be republished, but it's not, the history's not there because that book's a bit crook, you know. So page 70, 71 and 72 are the three late ghazals, 1968 ghazals in the song cycle A through G. It's just in the middle, it's section E.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's sort of like God Speaks, you know, it's everything's in there.
Yeah, and you read it so, you put it out there so graphically and clearly.
It only takes 53 years practice. You know. I'm still practicing.
Yes. Thank you. Beautiful.
Baba.
Hey, so we're kind of winding down a little bit, unless we can get one last song from Rainey, but if you may not have all your equipment there for playing guitar, right?
I could do something quick and a cappella, I guess.
Yeah, if you like.
The center little section that you like so much of Hymn to God the Man, And you'll have to sing the other 4 parts, Jeff.
Uh-oh. I will make them up
Okay.
internally.
Okay. So I just like to say, don't forget that all Brabazon is not just knocking your head around. If you want to read something exquisitely beautiful, in the back of the Word at World's End is Hymn to God the Man. It's so exquisitely beautiful you could faint.
Yeah.
And this is a
Hey,
little section in the middle.
before you go on, I just want to mention that next Sunday at 10 o'clock, Nashua Nalavala is going to share his, I'm gonna interview him about his life with Baba and his parents and everything. So there aren't many people left in the West here who actually met Baba. So
what did he wasn't Prem Ashram then.
no,
What was-
Nashua was a little boy when he met Baba during the New Life up in Dehradun. But yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, Rainey, go for it.
Oh, it's only a couple of seconds, but you have to imagine it's a madrigal with all the parts coming in. Bill would have heard it at the Samadhi by the Aussies and Jeff and others. Now now Sam has finished the whole of Hymn to God the Man's to melody, and anybody that would like that set of CDs, just email me at nadaom@aol.com. Yes, I know AOL dates me, but it's it's how it is. How beautiful you are, what a dreaming in the dawn is your brow. What oceans of love are your eyes, how beautiful you are. What music of our new singing is in your throat. What a proud new architecture is in your hands. How perfectly shaped are your feet for our beyond journeying.
Wow. Give us the words to that very last line. How beautiful are your feet for our beyond journeying.
Dreaming in the dawn is your brow. What oceans of love are your eyes? What music of our new singing is in your throat? What a proud new architecture, proud new architecture is in your hands. How perfectly shaped are your feet for our beyond journey.
Wow. Thank you, Rainey. Boy, beautiful.
Yes, if you get the melody, you can just memorize the whole thing so much more easily, you know?
Yeah. Well, we could entertain each other for the next 700 years until Baba comes, but I think I have to go to work, and some of you people probably have to eat. And so wonderful. I mean, this is really touching, all that people bring up in their inner lives with Baba. I mean, I find it very helpful and inspiring. And this is what Baba has to say about it all right here. Yeah, golly. You know, I can't remember the exact wording, but you know, Kitty Davy was in Mandalay Hall when Erich was sharing with all the pilgrims. And Kitty, toward the end, she was called over to Mara's porch. And a woman who was there with Erich said, "What do you and Kitty talk about in private. Now, I wish I could remember the words, but he said something like, we look into each other's eyes with such astonishment. How is it that we even touched him, that we even heard his name, that we got to be there with him? I mean, they're just overwhelmed that they got to be with God himself, and they felt nothing special themselves, but there they were. And here we are. Beautiful that we have Baba here. I mean, just it's he's, as time goes on, he's much greater than I had previously suspected. But anyway, let's Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Jai Baba, everyone.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Time to depart. Time to depart. Go with Baba in your heart. Mansari says, and none care too. Time to depart, one and all of you. Take your prasad and go on your way. Come back again the very next day. Time to depart. Time to depart. Go with Baba in your heart. That was Bob Brown. We remembered him. We remembered him today. Oh, all right. Jai Baba, everybody.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Happy Easter. God bless you. Baba bless you.
Jai Baba.